Okay. Thank you for bearing with me as my phone heated up and shut off while I was in the midst of talking. And now I'm in the shade here on a hot day in Tucson to tell you more. So, I want to go back for a moment and think about the fact that 4 years ago, on this day, February 24th, Russia launched its full scale invasion of Ukraine, a war that has been brutal, inhumane, and it just goes on and on, despite the attempts to negotiate peace, despite the United States trying to make this happen between two sides, when really this is the work of one side. I was describing to you how on that day there was so much tension of, is this going to happen today? Is it going to happen tomorrow? Every day asking that question, not really knowing. And then at the end of one work day, I get home, try to rest a bit, and all of a sudden get the call that now it's time to start talking about Russia beginning its war, which of course Putin wouldn't want to call it that. Remember, it was called a special operation, right? So I rushed to get ready, sat down at my kitchen table, and started reporting. And it's been something that, unfortunately, as the years have gone by, has become harder and harder to focus on as the news continues to evolve in other directions. So I think it's important to highlight the fact that there have been so many Ukrainians who have been tirelessly fighting for their country, and the bravery, the ingenuity. As we think about what happens in the time ahead, whether or not peace negotiations can work, and it's certainly not going to make a bet on that one. What I think is really notable is that President Zelensky picked the leader of the military intelligence service, General Kirillo Budanov, to be the head of the president's office, an incredibly important job. And the reason that this is notable is that he worked with the CIA more than a decade ago, has continued those relationships, and has been at the helm of some incredibly successful intelligence operations. So having Budanov in this position is very strategic for them moving forward. Just yesterday, Budanov was quoted by the presidential office discussing how restoring justice is also about a compensation mechanism of what comes next in rebuilding the country. He also said, quote, accountability for aggression is not only a signal about the past, it's a signal about the future, about how the world responds to unlawful uses of force and what consequences await those who violate international norms. Now, clearly, the situation for Ukraine got a lot harder when Trump came along, because he did not provide the same level of support as the Biden administration. And I mean that in every way, in terms of monetary support, in terms of weapons, in terms of morale. Very, very different time. And the Ukrainians are very, very aware of this, and they're walking this fine line. There's a quote from a source that I wanted to share with you. I think it's important because as we look ahead, where is this all going? The source told me, quote, I think this administration, the Trump administration, might underestimate how good the Ukrainians are at signals collection against the Russians. So, for example, when Special Envoy Steve Witkoff's comms were leaked, that was almost certainly the Ukrainians sharing that through some anonymous channel to disrupt what they saw that was threatening. That kind of work of trying to work with the Americans, doing the negotiations with the Russians, but also strategically leaking information to continue to receive support, provide awareness of what's happening behind the scenes. This is also where this war is going as we think about it moving forward. So I spent a lot of time talking about a lot of really random things as I stand here in Tucson. And I want to end this by going back to the very first post that I shared with you. I think it was January 1st of this year, where I talked about how I'm trying new things. And that is why I'm here in Tucson. I've never been here. There are things that I am learning about Tucson. For instance, they have this sort of like pig-like animal that is actually not a pig. It's more of a rodent called a javelina. I tried this kind of large translucent corn called white pozole corn, and walking around the desert, seeing these vegetation and changes in the desert throughout the year that I've never seen before. So it has been really energizing to be here. And the reason that I bring this up is because there was a point last year where I felt like I needed to do something more than just share intelligence stories and provide information. That part of this is also about learning what I need, and that means trying new things and seeing things in a different light. And so, as part of the trying new things, I'm also trying something new here, which is that I want to share some things with you that I've found useful in life. And this is not about intelligence reporting, this is more about human intelligence and what can make our lives a little bit better. So, first off, I asked myself, what do I need? And I realized if I don't try new things, if I can't bring joy and adventure back into my life, I don't know how I keep moving forward. But what are some of the other tips? I want to share 3 with you. So the first one for me is that I don't sleep that well. I stay up a lot, I wake up a lot, and I have a hard time shutting my mind off. It's not about the physical side. I can be physically tired, but my brain just keeps going. And then cumulatively, I get more and more exhausted as time goes by. It gets harder to do things, and medication has been a struggle for me. So, what I started learning about was sleep anxiety. And there's one person who recommended scheduling time to worry, which might sound really weird because you might be a person who worries all day long. Or you might be a person who never ever thinks about anything because it just doesn't feel good to think about it. But what I saw in a video, which I found to be very useful, is to schedule anywhere between 5 and 15 minutes each day from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. in the afternoon, not in the morning, not at night. Schedule some time to just sit down, grab a piece of paper and a pen. Don't use your cell phone. Don't not write it down, but just jot down all the things that you're worrying about. Get it all out. And then once you have that list, start looking at it again and think about what is actually within your control. Go to each of those items and say to yourself, what can I do about this? It's important to use a verb to address the actual worry, whether it's how you approach a person or a problem, but it's like, what is my plan here? Again, having that verb. Then there are some worries that are not really about you. They're not within your control. And being able to write down, I can't control this, or time just needs to unfold here, kind of helps release some of that worry. And again, just a short period of time in the day of doing that. And it's made me sleep just like slightly less shittily. So maybe it can be helpful to you too. What are the other things? Oh, yeah. Number 2. So if you have been alive in the last 10 years, which you all have, you probably noticed that everybody's just staring at their fucking cell phone. They're missing life. They're just constantly on their screens and they don't see what's going on around them. And while our phones can be a source of connectivity, they can provide us entertainment and wisdom and convenience, it's just become too much. And so what I started doing was deconstructing my cell phone. And what I mean by that is taking the social media off of it. I took Instagram off of my phone because that infinite scroll means that you just get sucked in and all of your time is just wasted. I mean, there can be useful things on there, but how much do you really need to be on it? It's a good step in trying to be in the present, to just put it away. You can still access Instagram on your laptop or on your desktop, or if you have a second cell phone, you can still enjoy it. But you can also just enjoy it for 5 minutes, 15 minutes, like the scheduled worry. It doesn't need to be something that you just kill time with. It helps you see your life. It helps you be aware of what's really happening. And in a way, this kind of feeds into my 3rd tip for you. Again, sorry, nothing to do with the intelligence community. But the third thing for me is being really present to how I feel when I walk away from a person that I have just spent some time with. I mean, just a person that I've met up with, not a source, but just a person in my real life. Do I walk away feeling heavy and drained and worried or fearful, stressed? Or do I walk away feeling hopeful, calm, inspired? And when you aren't looking at your cell phone, it's easier to not be distracted. It's easier to sort of notice how it feels when you're no longer with that person. And over time, you can start to see if this person is actually making you feel good, or if this person is actually draining you. And it's not to say that the relationship needs to end, but what it can mean is that you invest more time with certain people who you feel energized by, who support you, as opposed to someone who maybe you need to decenter from your life, or who you need to put more guardrails on. I know that these are really random tips, and I don't know if this is useful, but I am a full person. I'm not just a journalist, and I want to start doing a little bit more of this. So, thank you for joining me as I talk about this. And it's fun to see your comments on it. And I really, I mean, now I'm just like, oh, what I want to see what you guys have to say about it. But I think that for me, being here in Tucson and spending time talking to people and walking through these different paths, trying these foods has been really, really important. And I'll take that back to DC, and and I hope that it's helpful for you, and not just informative, but actually helpful. So, thank you for spending this time with me today. And I will see you guys back in DC soon. Take care.